It was supposed to be the beginning of forever. The candles had burned low, the guests had gone, and the hotel room was quiet except for the distant hum of city traffic. Amelia stood by the window, still in her ivory silk wedding gown, staring out at the skyline. Her heels were off, and her curls had loosened from hours of dancing, but she still looked like a bride. A hopeful one. Until the door clicked. When she turned, Lucas was already picking up his overnight bag. No eye contact. No smile. Just silence that threatened to strangle her. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice a trembling echo. He paused, fingers tightening around the strap. "I can't do this, Amelia." She laughed, thinking it was a joke. A cruel, absurd joke. "Do what?" "We're married, Lucas. This is our wedding night." He looked at her then, and it was like seeing a stranger. His brown eyes were unreadable, cold even. "That's the problem. I should never have married you." She didn't cry. Not at first. She watched him walk out of the room, out of the hotel, out of her life. Just hours before, he had kissed her hand in front of their friends and family, told her she was the best thing that ever happened to him. And now he was gone, leaving behind a half-drunk glass of champagne and the scent of regret. Amelia didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the bed until dawn, still in her gown, the veil tossed carelessly on the floor like a discarded promise. By morning, she called her sister, Evie, and whispered the words she never thought she'd say. "He left." There was a pause. Then Evie said, "I'm coming to get you." Back home in Oxfordshire, Amelia locked herself away for days. She didn't want pity, didn't want explanations. Her friends sent messages, her mother tried to visit, but she refused everyone. What was there to say? She had planned a life with Lucas. Every detail. From the color of the nursery to their retirement cottage in the Lake District. Now, even her name on the marriage certificate felt like a betrayal. The media called it a society shock. Lucas Bennett, son of a wealthy construction magnate, leaving his bride without so much as a reason. The tabloids speculated. Infidelity, cold feet, family pressure. But none of them knew the truth. Neither did she. A week later, she received a letter. Handwritten. No envelope. Just slipped through her door. "Amelia, I know I should explain, but I'm not sure I can. What happened that night had nothing to do with you. You were perfect. You are perfect. But something broke inside me, and I didn't know how to tell you before the wedding. I panicked. I ran. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you find someone who doesn't hesitate. Lucas." She tore the letter in two. Weeks passed. Then months. Amelia went back to work at the publishing house where she edited travel memoirs. She stopped wearing her rings. She returned her gown to the designer with no explanation. And slowly, she began to live again. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she couldn't wait for someone who had vanished. Then, one rainy Thursday afternoon, she met Jonah Clark. He was a writer. Tall, with dark, unruly hair and a crooked smile that made her feel oddly at ease. He arrived at the office with a manuscript under one arm and a box of éclairs in the other. "For bribery," he said, placing the box on her desk. She raised an eyebrow. "And what are you bribing me for?" "Your professional mercy. This draft is awful, but I need someone to believe in it." She smiled despite herself. He had no idea who she was. That she was the woman who had been abandoned. that her heart was still held together with fragile threads.
But he made her laugh, and that mattered.
Over the next few weeks, Jonah became a regular in her office. He brought coffees, asked questions, lingered longer than necessary. His writing improved, too. Under her guidance, the memoir transformed from scattered stories into something beautiful.
Something honest.
One evening, after a particularly long session, he looked at her across the conference table. "You're not what I expected." "Is that a compliment or an insult?"
"Definitely a compliment.
You seem like the sort of person who's been through something big but still manages to laugh at stupid jokes."
She hesitated,
then said, "My husband left me the night of our wedding."
He blinked.
"I didn't expect that either." "Nobody did."
"And yet here you are,
helping idiots like me write books."
She chuckled.
"Some of us have to be useful." He looked at her then, not with pity but with something gentler. Respect, perhaps. In the months that followed, they grew close. Not in a grand, sweeping way, but slowly,
deliberately.
He never pushed.
He never asked for more than she could give.
And somewhere between shared takeaways and late-night editing sessions, she began to hope again. The first time he kissed her, they were sitting on a bench by the river. It was spring, and the blossoms were beginning to bloom. He turned to her, brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, and said, "You make me want to be careful."
She looked at him. "Why?"
"Because you've already been broken. And I don't want to be another reason you stop believing in love."
Her heart ached, but it was a different ache. Not pain.
Just the fear of letting someone in again. They dated quietly. She didn't tell many people. She wanted to keep it hers. But when Jonah's memoir was finally published, he asked her to stand beside him at the launch. "I wrote it because of you," he said into the microphone. "And for you."
The applause was loud, but all she could hear was the thud of her own heartbeat. That night, he walked her home.
They stood at her doorstep, the moonlight catching on the edges of her hair.
"Can I stay?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded.
And in the early hours of the morning, wrapped in his arms, she realized something. Lucas may have left her on the first night, but that did not mean she was unworthy of love. It just meant he wasn't capable of giving it. Jonah kissed her shoulder and whispered, "I'm not going anywhere."
She believed him.
Because some love stories don't begin with fireworks. They begin after the ashes have settled. And they bloom not in perfection, but in patience. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more unforgettable tales of love, loss, and second chances.